One of the things that you mentioned, and the presentation actually gives them clear overview in terms of how different aspects of innovation need to be covered. Okay, and there are multiple things I want to discuss. Let me start with this one. You mentioned that there is presence of talent, obviously. Now, there is also presence of data.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there is obviously an abundance of problems. Okay. So the roadmap that you gave is quite interesting. It's very thoughtfully put forth, but oftentimes we see that in terms of implementing this, there are challenges.
Right.
So what would your recommendations be in terms of implementing this to ultimately take it to a model where it becomes the second nature, or whether it is an organization, an industry like us, or if it is an academic institution? What philosophy or what methodology should they put together in order to make sure that this comes up and improves over years and becomes more and more effective?
So thanks, Anand. Thanks for that question. Firstly, I think I mentioned it firstly that there is no dearth of knowledge. There is technology available. There is data available. I think the missing link here is that how to use data for the benefits. And in typical industrial term, we still call it as a payback or ROI or the benefits to the customer. But someone has to see that data differently to kind of ensure that it is giving some value to the customer. Whether it is in terms of safety, whether it is in terms of energy or efficiency or quality of the product. Is that the aspect to an extent it may say? To answer it means look at the kind of digital evolution happening in industries currently. Everyone is going with a proof of concepts. And those proof of concepts, they are kind of relatively tolerant to the failures. Out of 10, 2, 3, 4 might work. Remaining 5, 6, it's not that they are not working. They are still working, but they are not delivering what you want. So the 3, 4 where you are working, that's where the problem of scale up is where we get it. But that's again in industrial perspective. Coming back to the academia, I think as I was mentioning, and if you look at all the examples which I mentioned, I am talking about first principle.
Yeah.
So very core need is that when we talk about thermal system, thermodynamics, heat transfer, fluid mechanics has to be very well laid out. So my personal feel for the academic things, the core topics for any branches, and since I am from mechanical, I will talk about mechanical, is more from the point of view is that heat transfer, fluid mechanics and thermodynamics need to be understood very well. Take example of boiler, take example of the process equipment where we are talking about calculating the theoretical energy, theoretical steam required.
Yeah, I see.
That needs a kind of complete understanding of the system. And then also on top of that, we are talking about from where wastages are coming up. So someone needs to know that what could be the modes of wastage, because those still unknown at this moment, right? I am supposed to use 1 kg. My SAP is 1.55. That means I am consuming 55% most. Probably I am aware of only 40% of it. Remaining 50% I still don't know. So at a college level, having the basics very well laid out, first skill. Then secondly, at an interpersonal level, it is about curiosity. It is about getting involved in details that why exactly these things are happening. I think these two are the kind of things that we can put together at a college level. At industry level, I think it is more of a job for them to define the right problem state.
Right. That's actually very interesting input, because oftentimes what happens is, as you mentioned, the availability of whether it is resources or capabilities is already there. How to best ratchet where the crux of the question comes.
I completely agree.
That's a very interesting way to look at it.